Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the 2019 commencement ceremony of the Oregon College of Oriental Medicine. We'll be celebrating the graduates seated here in front of you for the next couple hours. This is clearly their day, their time to shine. For everyone else here, though, no matter what the relationship between you and the graduates, you too are part of this story. Without all of you, they would have had a much harder journey. So it's you whom I'd like to recognize now. Let's have an enthusiastic round of applause for everyone who is here to witness the passage of these graduates. And of course, my sincere congratulations to you, the Oregon College of Oriental Medicine graduating class of 2019. And for now, forget everything else, just be present and be a witness for these graduates and for one another. We are all so fortunate and blessed to be here, in this place, at this time. This time is all we have. Hold gratitude in your hearts. So everyone here, please close your eyes for a minute and bask in this present moment. Please open your eyes, stay present, and enjoy our time together. For everyone here besides the graduates, think to a time where you've been totally involved in something, be it work, education, or just an enjoyable activity. Think of a time like that. You know how all-consuming that can be. Now think about how difficult it is to meet the challenges and commitment of a medical education program. Add into that a job, or a family, or both. All of you seated in the front rows know what I'm talking about. And some of you may suspect what I'm talking about. For the doctoral students to come back to school for 4 or 5 intense days, almost monthly for 2 years. That's quite a commitment. For the master's students, to undertake an intense educational program takes vision, and in particular, stamina. Each one of you had a dream that you held close to your hearts, and hopefully still do. Whether that dream was to improve your knowledge and practice in order to help more people, whether that dream was to learn more about Chinese medicine and move your practices into Western medical settings, whether that dream was to step into research and shed new light onto a traditional form of medicine, whether that dream was to begin to develop your own clinical practice to serve those who were suffering, whether that dream was to bring affordable, effective, and safe medicine to underserved populations around the country and the world. You now have the tools to make those dreams a reality. Some of you, for the first time, are entering a profession, a community of healers dedicated to help relieve the suffering of people in this world and improve their health. Some of you have been a part of that profession and community and are now ready to take more prominent leadership roles. Formal schooling has been but a short stop on the path of your dream. Remember, this is a commencement ceremony, the start of something new. So today, Let's share each other's joy and celebrate with these graduates at an end and a beginning. A quote, sometimes attributed to Lao Tzu and paraphrased, but mostly anonymous. "It's the end of the world," said the caterpillar. "It's just the beginning," said the butterfly. And you're all butterflies now. Live today. Follow your heart. Your life will unfold in ways that you aren't even aware of. So we'll begin today's ceremony with an opening invocation from one of our longtime faculty members. Dr. Hong Jin, Chair of Oriental Medicine, is a friend and a collaborator. We have known each other and worked together for over 25 years. We have watched our children and OCOM grow. Hong Jin is recognized as one of the preeminent practitioners and teachers of Chinese medicine. As anyone who has had contact with her will tell you, she has a vast store of medical knowledge in both Chinese and Western medicine. She has worked alongside Western medical practitioners and brought Chinese medicine into some mainstream medical situations, especially in fertility work here in the US. Complementing this is a strong ethical sense and a truly compassionate nature. Her thirst for knowledge is unsurpassed, and her excitement and openness about learning are contagious. We are all touched by Dr. Jin's depth of knowledge, her unending energy and vitality, and her infectious smile. Dr. Jin.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome to the OCOM Graduation of 2019. Thank you very much for being here. First of all, I want to congratulate all the graduates for your big and hard-earned achievement. Today is a day to truly celebrate you. You did it. I'm so happy for you and for our profession. Now, I would like to pray to the eternal spirit and the energy of the great universe. We seek to sense your presence in this gathering. May these graduates and all of us not see this ceremony as an end of incredible education, but as the beginning of a lifelong journey in pursuing career success and personal growth, and as the beginning of a lifelong service in reducing suffering and promoting healing, harmony, well-being, and happiness in the world. The great universe, please use your eternal and strong yuan qi to give our graduates the strength to do their best, to nourish their heart qi when they need a clear mind, to tonify their lung qi when there are external pathogens, to soothe their liver qi when they have obstacles and frustrations, to lift their spleen qi to the highest success that they can get, and to consolidate their kidney qi for their own balance and well-being. With the analogy of these 5 organs, I wish all of you, the wonderful graduates of OCOM, very good success in your career and life. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jin, for those words of inspiration. Remember, lifelong learning. That's what we're all about here. And remember to nourish yourselves, as she had talked about. Dr. Sherry Green, Our next speaker is the president of OCOM. During the process of a presidential search, I knew that Dr. Green was the right person for the job. She has the vision for the profession and the college to guide OCOM into the next phase of its growth as a leader in education, faculty development, research, and institutional collaboration. Her career has led her to this point. She has a diploma in acupuncture from the Zhengtao School of Classical Chinese Medicine in North Carolina, a master's degree in social work from the University of South Carolina, and a PhD in maternal and child health from the Gilling School of Global Public Health at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. For the past 2 years, she has been the president of the Zhengtao School. For several years before that, and continuing to the present, Dr. Green has been the principal investigator in numerous grant-based research programs focused on substance abuse, trauma, and maternal and child health. The number of research studies that she has led or participated in is astounding. The number of publications that she has written is more than impressive. It would take the rest of this ceremony for me to list all of her academic work for you. Her goal is to bring life-changing integrative health care involving acupuncturists, behavioral health specialists, and physicians to the general population. I am truly amazed at her energy, her vision, and her warmth. Despite all of her high-powered academic work, she is approachable and easy to connect with. We are very fortunate to have her leading OCOM. Dr. Green?
Thank you, Dr. Jen. Thank you, Dr. Coletto. And thank you, graduates. What an honor to be with you today. I was thinking about take a moment and be still and close your eyes. And a year ago, had no idea I would end up in Portland at a graduation for OCOM. And I'm truly, truly honored to be here with you celebrating your special day today. So welcome to family, friends, faculty, staff, students, and our board members who are in the audience. And most importantly, we welcome you, our graduates, the 2019 OCOM graduating class. So. Today, you'll join the more than 1,400 OCOM graduates who are in practice, who teach, who conduct research in Chinese medicine in 50 states and across the globe. You join OCOM graduates who have provided an estimated more than 10 million treatments over the past 36 years. Think about that. From where you are today to the end of your career, how many families, how many lives will you touch to add to that number? And I know, at least for myself as an academic, as a teacher, I'm truly touched when I think about the ripples that go out from our educational efforts. Today we celebrate your achievements, the culmination of hundreds of hours of study and sacrifice and dedication, growth and discovery. As you move to the end of one adventure and step into the next, we celebrate you. From the white coat ceremonies to owning the title of Master of Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine, and for a few of you here today, to the degree and title of Doctor of Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine. What a journey it's been. We celebrate you. We'll do that over and over today. This is not just a career, in my opinion, but a calling to attend, to be present, to be curious, a lifetime of study, a calling to discern, a calling to hold space and to listen, a calling that not only draws on your own intellect for sure, but also requires your own health, your focus on your own well-being as you hone yourself as an instrument of healing. And it's also a calling to your heart. Yes, a calling to your heart and your compassion. Today I'm honored to bow to your commitment and to your dedication. I know it's an endurance test. You know, we know that you can do it when we admit you. but it takes a degree of stamina and commitment and endurance to get to this day, today, and we honor that. You have our respect and support for this career and the life journey you've chosen. And like Joe, I also want to acknowledge that graduate school occupies a lot of focus and commitment on your part, but also that of your family, your friends, and your loved ones, who are so gracious when they hear that all too familiar phrase, "I'm sorry," you know, when there's an invitation, "I'm sorry, I can't, I have to study." So we're grateful that you're here, and we're grateful to your families and friends for helping you on this journey. We know that none of us do this alone. It takes a real commitment from those who care about us. So we say thank you. Thank you for helping them get here, and we want to celebrate you. OCOM 2019 graduates, I don't know if you've ever Googled how many people actually have a professional degree beyond a bachelor's, not just an academic degree, but in America, there's only about 1.5% of our population that actually get a professional degree beyond a bachelor's that's required to do your field. And when you put all the academic and the professional doctorates together, there's only about 2% of our population achieve this. Worldwide, it's estimated if you get rid of the just mail-by-order degrees and you focus on those hard-earned doctoral degrees, something like 1% of the population, world population, hold a doctoral degree. So this is truly, truly an achievement. And there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that, as I know that you know. Today we honor you, your commitment to this path, your commitment to this profession, and your accomplishment. Master's graduates, today we welcome you to the profession. Wow. And for those of you earning your DAOM today, I want you to know that we recognize the special role and responsibility that you assume. What you do in terms of your studies, the space that you hold, the care that you give, all of you, how you comport yourself in public, the things that you write. Not only does that help your patients, but it also helps our profession. It will convey into how we're represented in policy and in society. And so we thank you and we welcome you. So today it is my honor to welcome you all here for the next 2 hours, about 2 hours, as we celebrate the OCOM class of 2019. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Green. As Dr. Green said, this is a calling, and I'm sure that all of you seated in the first few rows here realize that, because if you weren't called to do this, you probably wouldn't have lasted all these years. Dr. Robert Kaneko came to OCOM in 1992. He and his family quickly became close friends with me and my family. Robert took over from me as clinic director and saved me from a life of full-time administration. I was much better suited for teaching, so I am eternally grateful to him for that. During the ensuing years, Dr. Kaneko shepherded the OCOM Clinic and grew it into a thriving, vibrant location for students to learn and patients to heal. Along the way, he also taught classes, supervised students in the clinic, participated in community outreach, started a private practice, went back to school, received his doctorate in acupuncture and oriental medicine, and this is to say nothing about raising a family and being a good friend. Robert could be depended on to help, either professionally or personally, whenever it was needed. He is a stalwart in our community and our profession. Dr. Kaneko continues to serve OCOM as a clinic supervisor in both our master's and doctoral degree programs. Due to his experience, knowledge, and kind demeanor, his clinic shifts are sought after by students. He has brought so much to our students, to his patients, and to me. Please welcome Dr. Kaneko.
Thank you so much, Joe. I really appreciate that. I have to thank my handlers, Raina and Ari, who've sort of shepherded me through all of this process, so thanks. Welcome to our new president, Dr. Sherry Green, and to the OCOM Board of Trustees. Greetings to you, the graduates, family members, friends, OCOM and OCOM faculty, staff, and administration. Thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate being chosen as the faculty speaker. I am so excited about this, and I hope I have something good to tell you or say. So, as Joe said, I've been involved with Chinese medicine since 1985 when I was first licensed 34 years ago. I've been at OCOM since 1992, almost 27 years. And now I have the unique honor of teaching and supervising in the clinic in both the master's and doctoral programs. I've seen graduates grow and develop in both programs, so congratulations to all of you. Excuse me, Robert, this is not about you, it's about them. Oh, right, okay, well, don't worry, I haven't forgotten. Them, not me. I got it, okay. With my time, I'd like to do two things. Firstly, I would like to give you my historical perspective on the development of Chinese and Oriental medicine over the span of my professional career. And secondly, I would like to give you some advice from my accumulated wisdom over the years about life and being professional. But before I start, I would, as faculty speaker, like to say thank you to all of the classroom faculty. They are the ones who pass on the knowledge of both traditional Chinese medicine, Oriental medicine, and modern biomedicine and set the foundation for all learning. They are the ones who make it easy for me and us to teach and supervise in the clinic. We all know that it is not something that pays well as it should, so to all of you, thank you for your many hours of preparation and for making life so much easier for all of us clinical supervisors. Thank you. I would also like to say thank you to all of the Chinese doctors who have come to teach at OCOM and overcome the challenges of language, customs, and being far from home. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom with all of us. Finally, I would also like to remind us and thank all of the past doctors and teachers who've passed on their knowledge throughout the centuries. Chinese medicine exists because of the generosity and compassion of so many doctors who have come before us. They are the ones who've taken the time to write down and record their ideas and experiences and to share their knowledge and wisdom. Thank you so much. And now on to my historical perspective. I give you this perspective to let you know how far we have come as a profession in a very short period of time. I want you to understand what a good place you stand in as you embark on your new careers as acupuncturists and as doctors of acupuncture and Oriental medicine. I really love my work as a doctor of traditional Chinese medicine and as a teacher and clinical supervisor. I enjoy working with patients and with students. As I near retirement age, I'm in a bit of a dilemma about when to stop working because I can't quit now. Right now, I am the best that I have ever been. It's about them, so don't brag. I'm not meaning to brag. I just want them to know that if they keep at it, they will improve with time and enjoy it even more. My journey was not without pain, especially at the beginning. So, I'm going to continue, okay? I remember back in the early 1980s, there were people who didn't know what acupuncture was in Southern California. They didn't know that it was medical, they didn't know it was Chinese, or that it was done with needles. And by the time I was licensed in 1985, I didn't run into anyone who didn't know what acupuncture was. But of course, then the jokes started about not drinking water after an acupuncture session because you might leak, and the looks of horror about being poked with needles. But now I don't hear those jokes, and I mostly hear about what good success people have had with Chinese medicine. When I was licensed in 1985, I was not very skilled. My education had not been very good. My classmates and I struggled. There was one book out of China, and in class we were frantically scribbling and copying down notes from the chalkboard that the Chinese instructors were translating from the Chinese texts. Now there are countless books and references and study guides on countless topics and styles of Oriental medicine. When I was in school, we were using reusable needles. We were told to get a sharpening stone to hone our needles along with a magnifying glass to check for burrs. We autoclaved our needles. On top of this, we were freehanding and were never really taught to use needle insertion guide tubes. Thankfully, disposable needles with tubes came into regular use soon after my licensure. Because we were freehanding our needle insertions with dull, thick, reusable needles, and our skills were not very well honed, our acupuncture was painful, and consequently, we had very few patients in the clinic. There were no patient count requirements. Yikes! It took me years to gain proficiency. Those of you in the master's program are well on your way. You are starting off in a good place. In the late 1980s in Los Angeles, I ran the clinic at an acupuncture college. We used patent medicine pills, and bulk herbs. To stock the herbal dispensary, I made regular runs to Chinatown to buy Chinese medicine pills because that was sort of the easiest source to get them from. And now there are a wide variety of products, including pills and traditional bulk herbs, but also granules and tinctures, and you can buy them through the mail. And now more than ever, patients are opening up to trying these products. Thanks to the pioneering work of Dr. Michael Smith at Lincoln Hospital in New York in the mid-1970s, acupuncture has been used in the treatment of substance abuse all over the U.S. Furthermore, Lise Rohleder and Skip Van Meter, both graduates from OCOM in the early 1990s, mimicking this model, have developed the community style of acupuncture where low-cost acupuncture is delivered in a group setting, which has now spread across the country. In the mid-1990s, the World Wide Web and Internet became available. Now, medical information of all sorts, alternative and biomedical, are easily accessible. This helps us as well as our patients. So much information about diagnosis, pathology, nutrition, and treatment are available to help our patients. Can you imagine looking for information to help your patients by looking through books and journals? It's amazing that anything got done. I find it hard to believe how much things have changed in such a short period of time, just in the span of my professional career. Our medicine is much more established and stable, and so much more well-respected. And now for my advice to you. Master's graduates, you have the task of making a living as an art that you have developed over the last few years. In a world not just challenging economically, but one also challenged with issues around global warming and pollution, gender rights, racial and ethnic rights, and many others. Doctoral graduates, you have these same challenges, but also the additional responsibilities to pass on your knowledge, to do research, to teach, and to lead our profession. Don't make this a downer. Be encouraging. Yes, I know, but it seems that I should at least acknowledge in some way the challenges that all of us feel. But anyway, you're right. This is a happy day, a hopeful day. And now for my advice. Number 1, follow the advice that they give on the airplane. Take care of yourself first, and then take care of others. If you are in good health, you can show others a path to good health. Even if you are not in good health, you can share with others about your efforts to improve your health. Number 2, lead by example. Practice what you preach. People will listen to you more readily if you follow your own instructions. Teach your patients about what they can do for themselves, and make sure that you are practicing it yourself. But be patient with your patients. It can take a long time to change one's lifestyle. It is difficult to change one's diet, exercise regularly, get more sleep, to relax, and to meditate. Believe me, I know this through my own experience. Be a good cheerleader. Number 3, listen to your inner voice. Pay attention to it and nurture it. Even the voice of pain, discouragement, fear, and frustration can help us to realize that something is amiss and that we need to change and try something a little differently. And teach your patients to listen to their own inner voices also. Awareness is the first step to self-care and remedying the situation or condition. And how do we make all of this happen? We breathe from our lower abdomen. To anchor our chi. Well, I don't know, how am I going to do this? Lower abdominal breathing is the key to everything, the secret to all good things. This is what will anchor us to ourselves, settle our chi, clear our minds, and connect us to earth and heaven. So let us do this together. Please put your hands on your lower abdomen, your lower dantian, below your umbilicus. Inhale, and your belly expands. Exhale, and your belly contracts. And as you do this, try and relax your lower back. Try not to breathe up into your chest. Relax. Even slump. Let go of the tension in your body. Let your thoughts go. Breathe and relax. This is a way of anchoring your chi, settling down, clearing your mind. Try to do this all of the time, even throughout your daily lives. In this field of traditional Chinese medicine, we have a long and glorious history, and we have grown so much in the past 50 years to stabilize and become a part of the medical care landscape. Keep working at your dreams. Keep working at developing your skills. When you are discouraged and feel as though things are not going so well, take a break and breathe from your belly. It is all about skills, your treatment skills, your communication skills, the kindness with which you treat others, and the way that you take care of yourselves. Spread your knowledge and wisdom, share with others, teach others, be engaged with the way that we treat our planet and care for each other. Be like the ancient sages of old who took the time to write down their knowledge and wisdom and share with others. On behalf of the OCOM faculty, I wish you well. You are going to do great things. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert. You know, it's amazing that any of us who were educated 30 and 35 years ago actually had any practices to continue on to this day. You know, with our education and with the needles the way they were back then, it's amazing that people actually came to us. It's a bright world for you all, and I'm so excited that you're getting to enter it. But remember, breathe. Our next speaker, Dr. Beth Birch, is the Dean of Doctoral Studies here at OCOM. We go way back to the 1980s when we were overlapping our time in naturopathic medical school. Even back then, it was known that she would be a strong leader. With her talents as an educator and a physician, Dr. Birch has helped to develop OCOM's doctoral program. She has the necessary skills to both administer and teach in the program and is highly respected by her students and colleagues. Due to her continuous hard work, our doctoral program has become one of the premier educational programs of its type in the U.S. She has a total commitment to excellence and extremely high standards that she brings to all her interactions. Please welcome my friend and colleague, Beth.
Good afternoon. Graduates, OCOM faculty and staff, and honored guests. It is my pleasure today to be able to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Nathan Heide. I first met Nathan when he interviewed for admission to OCOM's DOM program in 2013. And I was very impressed with his clear goals for his career and for completing his doctoral education at OCOM. And I was most pleased that he had chosen to come to OCOM for his doctoral degree. Throughout his 2 years at OCOM, Nathan demonstrated strong engagement in class and clinic and a high level of critical thinking. A peer evaluation by a classmate summed up his strengths. Nate is a great student, very committed to his own growth, the growth of his classmates, the well-being of his patients, and the advancement of the profession through integration. Nathan and I had dinner last night, and it was my pleasure to learn more about him and his history. His family have been farmers in the Willamette Valley for many years, and he is a native-born Oregonian, born in Corvallis. And then his life took him many other places in the world. So when he enrolled in OCOM's DOM program in 2013, it was his return to Oregon where he set up his practice in Eugene. In those years in between, he grew up, he graduated from the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, and enlisted in the U.S. Navy. He served for 4 years as an engineering officer on board the aircraft carrier USS John C. Stennis, supporting combat missions for Iraqi and enduring freedom. And then he came back and enrolled in Chinese medicine school and graduated with his MSTOM from PCOM in 2013. In our conversation at dinner last night, of course, two sailors are attention naturally turned to talking about being on the open seas and enjoying the beauties of the ocean. And he shared with me how out on the aircraft carrier at one point, out in the middle of the Pacific, his commanding officer, woke him up out of a sound sleep to bring him up to the pilot house of the ship to look out across the ocean where the bioluminescence literally went from horizon to horizon. He also reminded me of his time out on off the Oregon and Washington coast in the winter when 30-foot waves were crashing over the bow of his ship. So he's had some amazing experience out there on our beautiful oceans. Nathan continues now as a lifelong learner and has been working on a specialty master's in healthcare business statistics. When he's not busy studying and caring for patients, he loves to travel internationally, run marathons, rock climb, DJ progressive and deep house music at home, and practice Ashtanga yoga. Further, his interests include healthcare leadership, the human microbiome, prion diseases, machine learning, neural networks, and artificial intelligence. I want to today especially thank Dr. Heidi for his ongoing generous support of OCOM. He established the Nathan J. Heidi Scholarship here at OCOM. Perhaps some of you have benefited from that scholarship during your time at OCOM. He's also supportive of the college in other ways, and last year served on the DAOM Program Reaccreditation Self-Study Steering Committee. And I very much appreciate the work that he did with contributing to that self-study and doing some very careful review of the writing of that. So he's everything you could want in an alumni, continuing with lifelong learning, continuing with support of the college and serving as an exceptional practitioner in private practice in Eugene, Oregon. So please help me in welcoming Dr. Nathan Heidi.
Dr. Birch, thank you very much. I appreciate the introduction. It's absolutely a pleasure to be here today. Graduates, congratulations. This is really an auspicious day for you. President Green, Dean Birch, Dean Kidwell, members of the Board of Trustees, member of the OCOM faculty, parents, ladies and gentlemen, and of course, the graduates. Thank you very kindly for inviting me to share a commencement speech. I never imagined that I would be standing before you only 4 short years after my own OCOM graduation. I am honored, grateful, and delighted for this opportunity. To the graduates, I acknowledge your incredible efforts during your time in the master's or the doctoral program. While my own time at OCOM was relatively short, I consider the experience, the friendships, and the mentorship to be the best that our AOM community has to offer. When I first arrived at OCOM, I remember thinking that OCOM was the Harvard of AOM schools. I still think that today, but with a slight twist. I think of Harvard as the OCOM of normal universities. Graduates, I want to congratulate you for earning your status, your alumni status, from one of the finest schools in the country. As I began drafting this presentation, I was reminded of many of my first AOM memories. And I'd like to share a few of these memories with you and offer 2 messages for their future. First, the importance of understanding cognitive bias, and second, the importance of team building and entrepreneurship. One of my first AOM memories is about OCOM. In early 2013, I was at PCOM San Diego campus, finishing my last term in the MSTOM program. I was sitting in the student lounge with a small group of friends and fellow students. Graduation excitement was in the air, and you might say that the chi of the room was invigorated with ideas about the future. My friend David excitedly talked about his planned trip to China after graduation. Another friend, Debbie, enthusiastically shared about her business plans for a Newport Beach practice. Victor, a New York City student who had grown up in Prague, shared about his plans to return to the Czech Republic and lobby for acupuncture coverage. I listened, pictured China, imagined a private practice on the beach, and wondered about acupuncture political action. Then, my friend Allison, who had been researching doctoral programs, pulled out a catalog, looked our way, and said, "Have you seen this place? It's amazing." She was referring to the OCOM's DAOM program. We paused our conversation and leaned in for a closer look. Even before I saw the OCOM catalog, I knew that I was bound for a doctoral program after PCOM, but I did not know where. There were the typical California options, PCOM San Diego, South Balo, ACTCM, Emperors in 5 branches. But when I saw the images of OCOM's campus, instructors and coursework, I instantly had an invigorating feeling inside of me that said, "Go north." And so I went. I can only imagine that many of you had a similar sense of excitement when you first experienced OCOM. And I imagine that all of you eventually developed your own intimate and exciting relationship with OCOM and with our medicine over the years here. One of my wishes for you, as you move onward to the next phase of your life, is that you will share your enthusiastic love of our school, our medicine, your time here, and the relationships you developed with everyone you meet. Now, I would like to share 2 stories from my AOM journey into private practice that I hope will help you along yours. My first story involves understanding cognitive bias, and my second story involves understanding the importance of teamwork and entrepreneurship. Before I begin my first story, I'd like to quickly refresh what a cognitive bias is. A cognitive bias is a habitual mental error that often leads to poor decision-making. It is a way of thinking that might be very common, and on its surface might even appear rational. But a cognitive bias actually impedes logical thinking and often results in our mind delivering predictable, systematic decision errors. My first story highlights 3 cognitive biases that I experienced in my early days of private practice. These errors can best be described as the anchoring bias, the availability heuristic, and the Dunning-Kruger effect, all of which adversely impacted my early clinical practice. In early 2015, a new patient, a 65-year-old female, called to book an appointment. She found me through her husband from one of my Rotary acupuncture presentations. As we spoke, she described her chief complaint as bilateral shoulder pain, which caused her difficulty during her regular swim exercise. From her brief description over the phone, the case seemed fairly straightforward. My biomedical diagnosis was bilateral frozen shoulder syndrome. She was also under the care of her medical doctor, and when I reviewed his notes, his diagnosis confirmed my working diagnosis. As I considered the case, I believed myself to be well-trained for this patient, despite being new in the field. I had taken numerous pain management and orthopedic classes at PCOM, and I had briefly interned at AcuSport in California. Also, I had personal experience using acupuncture to heal my own sports injuries. I felt confident in my skill and was excited about treating her. Therefore, I accepted her as a patient. During her acupuncture intake, I reviewed both Western and Eastern medical systems, conducted orthopedic tests, and developed a working TCM diagnosis, chronic B syndrome with phlegm and blood stasis. Then I explained my diagnosis and approach to her. I felt my acupuncture approach was also relatively straightforward. Use the affected channels to invigorate Qi and blood, resolve phlegm and dispel stasis, trigger affected motor points, and use moxa to warm and invigorate congested tissue with the goal of reducing pain, healing the tissue, and improving range of motion. I plan to recommend herbs, at-home rehab exercises, and schedule a follow-up appointment. Partway through the treatment, after I had pulled needles and finished moxa, I had a flash of inspiration. Earlier that month at OCOM, I had learned a new Twain-Aw technique from one of my doctoral modules. I loved the module, and at that moment felt inspired to add the new technique to the session, despite not having refined my new skill. I wanted to add a gentle stretching protocol to help increase mobility. Feeling confident in my knowledge and ready to impress the patient, I briefly explained the add-on procedure, received her consent, and commenced. I spent the last part of the session working with all aspects of the new technique that I just learned. Despite my limited experience with the technique, I reasoned that I would be able to apply it without problem. The patient winced a couple times, and I noted her discomfort, adjusted my technique, asked if she was okay, and then continued when she said yes. At the end of the treatment, I gave her home instructions, advised that she might be slightly tender the next day, and suggested the follow-up appointment. In my mind, I had accomplished an effective treatment. I felt satisfied and proud of my work and look forward to her return visit. 3 days later, I received a phone call from the same patient. She said that she needed to see me as soon as possible, but did not explain why. Feeling slightly worried, I made space in my schedule and invited her back to the clinic that day. When she arrived, she showed me her shoulders and flanks where I'd applied my protocol. To my horror, her tissue was severely bruised, and she could barely move her arms above her waist. At that moment, my heart sank, and I realized that instead of healing my patient, I had actually injured her. I felt horrible and apologized for the pain that I had caused. As she walked out of the clinic, I was left in utter disbelief as to how I could have made such an error. After she departed, I reflected upon the treatments. I had completed numerous Toy Knot classes. I was trained in advanced ortho-acupuncture techniques, and I had received high marks on my clinical rounds at PCOM and OCOM. So where was my error? After much reflection, I concluded that I had fallen victim to a cascade of cognitive biases. The first mental error that I made was the anchoring bias, which is the tendency to focus too much on a single piece of information, usually the most recent or most emotional, rather than all information available. Because I had recently taken my orthodoctoral module, my mind was primed to see the new patient's symptoms through the lens of the orthopedic module. While her case seemed straightforward, I likely missed the subtle clues pointing towards the need for a nuanced treatment approach with a senior client. What I saw was a classic sports medicine case, not a delicate senior patient who needed special attention. This was my first mental error. The second mental error that I made was the availability heuristic, which is the tendency to attach too much weight to information that I happen to have had available despite me not having done any systematic research. Again, because I had recently had my orthopedic module, and ortho knowledge was easily available to my mind, I not only saw a classic orthopedic case, but my mind also gave that information more weight. Instead of doing systematic research of other possible treatment options before I commenced, my mind selected the most available orthopedic information and made that information seem like the correct approach. My mind had used an availability heuristic without me realizing it, resulting in a second decision error. My third mental error fell under the category of the Dunning-Kruger effect, or DK effect for short, which is a tendency for new graduates to believe that they know more than they actually do. The DK effect is best understood by a graph which looks like a smiley face attached on the left side to a nearly vertical line. The graph describes how new graduates have high confidence but low competency, followed by a period of declining confidence and increasing competency, finishing with a period of increasing competence and increasing competency. Due to the cognitive bias of the DK effect, I had significantly overestimated my confidence in my Twain-Aw approach without adequate competency. Specifically, I had applied too much pressure, forced too much range of motion stretching, and had, as a result, torn delicate tissue that often presents with older patients who have frozen shoulder syndrome. This was my third decision error. The point of this story is not necessarily to berate myself for making a past error in clinical practice. I think many clinicians would have at least one similar story, and likely you will too. Rather, the story's goal is to bring your attention to how I got caught by 3 cognitive biases without knowing. Had I been aware of my own biases, I hope I would have made better decisions and not injured my patient. While you may not make the same clinical error I did, in many other, perhaps subtle ways, you may also be suffering from cognitive biases. Why? Because cognitive biases are a fundamental aspect of how the human mind works, and biases affect everybody. And when biases are unchecked, in the words of psychologist Daniel Kahneman, what you see is all there is, and you often make fast, erroneous decisions. When biases are known, what you see is not all there is, and you often make slower, more deliberate, correct decisions. My hope is that by bringing your awareness to the presence of cognitive biases, you might be less likely to be snared by them, and as a result, make better clinical judgments and business decisions. Following the topic of cognitive bias, my second message comes from my experience starting my acupuncture practice, specifically around team building and entrepreneurship. In May 2013, I graduated from PCOM, moved to Oregon, and settled into a 3-month study window where I prepared for the California Acupuncture Licensing Exam, or the CALE. Simultaneously, I began drafting my business plans for opening my own clinic. From my early days at PCOM, I knew I had a desire to build my own clinic. My family has a long history of entrepreneurs constructing businesses going back 4 generations when my great-grandfather built his first machinist shop in Hungary. Just before World War I, he and my grandmother immigrated to the US and built another engineering business in Corvallis. After him, my grandfather and father followed their own entrepreneurial paths in the field of agriculture and international business. Now it was my turn. The excitement of acupuncture entrepreneurship is one of the initial attractions that drew me to this field. The opportunity to serve people in medicine and to continue my entrepreneurial heritage seemed like an excellent intersection. So as soon as I received my license, I took the first steps on my acupuncture business adventure. But starting a new venture takes more than enthusiasm and ideas, and it wasn't long before I encountered many of the difficulties that a budding entrepreneur faced, namely, picking a location, learning to live frugally, and learning how to secure capital. My first task was to decide on a location to live, and a place to start my practice. I considered a number of options: Portland, Beaverton, Corvallis, Bend, and Eugene. After weighing the pros and cons of each location, I decided on Eugene because of the size of the town, the medium income range of the population, the proximity to an airport, the location to natural recreation areas, and also because I could live on my family's hazelnut farm for minimal expense. By 2013, all of my immediate family had actually moved away from Oregon, but I still had a strong connection to the family in the form of an extended family friend named Ina, a 75-year-old lady who lived next door. Occasionally, Ina's son, Eric, and his friend Karine would visit, and I soon became friends with both of them. Although each business industry is different, the startup process for all new ventures follows some of the same principles. Keep overhead low, don't spend on frivolous items, and maintain a tight handle on cash flow. In my search for affordable living spaces, Ina had kindly offered me a free room to rent in her rustic barn until I could find more fitting accommodations. Her rustic barn offering, as it turned out, included all the basics that I really needed: shelter, electricity, heat, water, and a workspace. Despite the fact that I would be living in a barn, I was grateful because the price was right. The barn room also allowed me to easily abide by the principle of frugality: low overhead and nothing frivolous. When it comes to bootstrapping a new venture, nearly free is often the only price you can afford in the beginning. And as a young acupuncture graduate with plenty of student loans, some credit card debt, limited cash on hand, low overhead deals are important to find and secure. So I accepted her offer. Having secured my frugal living arrangements, I then focused my energy on attaining capital to start my clinic idea. Armed with my practice management notes, Excel business plan, expected licensing date, I visited many banks around Eugene and requested meetings to pitch my idea for startup capital. As you can probably imagine, given my financial outlook and my overall newness to the industry, odds of securing any funding were low. Each time I would enter the bank and ask to speak to a business banker, I'd enthusiastically present my plan and my ideas, only to receive a pleasant smile and a follow-on, "I love your idea, but we just can't give you any money. We don't give loans to new, unproven businesses without collateral." I knew from the conversations with my family that collateral meant, in strict banking terms, hard cash or property. Having neither cash or property, I failed to secure any banking at that moment. After a few weeks of disappointing meetings, I remember feeling frustrated. How was someone in my position, perhaps the same position many of you may be currently in, supposed to get funding to start a clinic? Was I going about this all wrong? Should I look for a job instead? I felt deflated by my failed business pitches, but I knew that often new entrepreneurs needed to pivot their initial strategy in mid-course to overcome obstacles. So I started looking for acupuncture job openings. In late 2013, there were some positions available. I applied, attended a number of interviews around the state, and got rejections for many of them. I did get a job offer, but it was a long distance from Portland and under terms that seemed unfavorable to me at the moment. If I had accepted the position despite the terms, I couldn't see how I would simultaneously attend the doctoral program and successfully get my own practice off the ground. My heart was truly set on starting my clinic, and I didn't want to give up on my goal, so I politely turned down the offer. One afternoon, in late August, following my last rejection interview, I returned to my rustic accommodations and faced my perceived reality. I had limited money, minimal experience in the industry, no current job history, and few substantial business connections. As I mulled over my predicament, the thought that struck me most was how unprepared I felt for the entire process of starting a new venture. I found myself wondering why I hadn't financially prepared better for starting my business, given my family history of entrepreneurship. The answer to my question lay in a truth about business and my own preparedness. The business world is a hard, capital-driven ecosystem, and saving money to start my business wasn't a priority of mine while I was in school. Under the pressure of diminishing financial resources and unemployment, my perspective narrowed and my enthusiasm waned. I certainly didn't want to give up and head home defeated, so that night, filled with a sense of deflation, I did the only thing that I could think of. I called my mother. She listened to my story, asked a few questions as I described the events over the previous weeks. Adding some well-timed sympathy and empathy at perfect moments as only a mother can deliver, she then asked me, near the end of our conversation, a single question that initiated a perspective shift in my mind. "Who else is on your team, Nathan?" "What do you mean, my team?" I asked her in return. As far as I knew, it was just me. She informed me that my current just me attitude wasn't helpful and hinted that I did have more resources available. She also gently suggested that I simply needed to rethink my scenario. After our phone call, I took a walk and reflected upon her question further. Who else was on my team? Along my walk, I had a flash of inspiration. I actually already had a team. Ina, Eric, and Corrine supported my idea and vision and had offered their team support in the form of a secured living situation. That fact had largely been lost on me because I had been distracted by the idea of me and me as the only team member. The more I pondered this thought, the more I came to realize that my mother was right. I did need a perspective shift. What I needed to do was to widen my circle of possible collaborators instead of simply thinking about my plan in isolation. Within a widened circle of possibility, anyone else could be on my team. All I had to do was be open to the possibility of finding others to support my venture. I would need to speak with possible collaborators and share my vision with enthusiasm, then ask if they would join or help me. The next morning, I spent time polishing my pitch and then called my mother back. I thanked her for the coaching and then pitched her my revised plan and newly discovered perspective. I also asked her to be part of my team. Thankfully, she said yes. And also, to my surprise, she offered a zero-interest, no-term family startup loan. I was delighted and humbled by her generosity, and I marveled at her clever and insightful coaching approach to my dilemma. After our call, I then spent a few more hours further refining my pitch. I also wrote down all the names of people I could think of who might be interested in helping me build a clinic. By that afternoon, I had a list of over a dozen individuals whom I thought might be willing to help. I also spent time crafting an investor-specific business pitch and devised a small equity offering. I then put pen to paper, crafted answers to common questions I thought potential investors might want to know about my new venture. When I was done, I had my first ever investor-ready presentation. That night, I practiced on the phone and then called everyone on the list. By the next morning, I had firm commitments to 6 months' worth of seed capital. By the end of the week, with cash on hand, I walked back into the bank, re-pitched the business banker my revised plan along with my evidence of collateral. Within a short time, I had opened a business account and had a matching line of credit from the bank that would last me nearly a year. Plenty to start a small acupuncture clinic. And just like that, I was launched. Today, 6 years later, my clinic has grown and expanded. At times, we have employed over 10 staff members and have had quarters where we've grossed revenues of over $100,000 per month. The clinic's positive reputation continues to grow, our ability to expand client services increases each year, and our balance sheets show a steady upward trajectory of increased profits and decreasing debts. Not bad progress from such humble beginnings. I made reasonably good business decisions, but I also got lucky. And I share this story with you because you may also encounter struggles when you start your acupuncture practice. Indeed, the specifics of how you start will be different from my beginning, but the principles and importance of frugality, perspective shifting, team building, and knowing how to secure capital are equal. I believe it is also important to say that luck plays a larger role in the success than many of us know or otherwise like to admit. Sometimes you can make good business decisions and still fail because you get unlucky. Sometimes you can make poor decisions, get lucky, and still succeed. And sometimes you can make good business decisions, have excellent luck, and be rewarded with extraordinary results. Often, no matter how prepared I thought I was, my business venture hit snags along the way that I could not predict and I could not overcome alone. During those times, I leveraged my team to improve my odds, and I was fortunate to succeed more than I failed. Most of the time, luck was on my side. You also will likely hit snags in your venture, and that is when your team becomes more important than ever. Your team will help you increase the odds of your success. Hopefully, my startup story has reinforced my second message. Team building is essential for entrepreneurial success in our field, and so is understanding the impact of luck upon your effort. Therefore, my call to action for you is this. Take on the challenge of entrepreneurship. Build teams to help accomplish your goals, and along the way, watch out for cognitive biases, and try to keep a balanced view of your luck, whether good or bad. If you take on this challenge, you will likely be rewarded with a highly satisfying career. In closing, I want to again congratulate each of you on your academic effort. You've done a remarkable job getting to this point, and each of you is at the beginning of an auspicious and personal and professional journey. No matter what path you select in our community, I have no doubts that you will leave a positive and highly influential mark upon the world. I wish you all the very best, and may your path be filled with many good decisions and abundance of excellent luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. There's some very important words for you to think about and remember as you go out into the world and begin or renew your practices. Well, we've made it to this point in the ceremony where we can hear from the students who have spent tremendous amounts of time and energy studying this medicine, right? Who better to speak of life at OCOM than the students? So let us hear their reflections, their thoughts, their feelings on what has been a transformative journey and what will be new challenges. I would like to begin with Amelia Zahm, who will speak for the doctoral class. Amy lives and practices in Wallowa County in Northeast Oregon. It's one of the most beautiful parts of the state, one of my favorite. If you haven't been there, you should visit. She has been in practice for 15 years. In addition to her work as a Chinese medicine practitioner, Amy teaches yoga and meditation. She has an MFA in creative writing, is a published author, and worked for 12 years as a ski instructor. Amy certainly takes advantage of living in Northeast Oregon. She lives in a cabin in the woods with her horses and cats. When she's not providing health care to her patients, she spends time paddleboarding, hiking, skiing, She's getting a dog as a graduation present for herself. And I think I'd better stop talking about what it's like to live in that place before everyone is going to want to join her there. So please let us welcome Amy.
Thanks, Dr. Coletto. And I got that puppy. He's home waiting for me right now. Just before I start, I'd like to take a moment to thank Dr. Beth Birch, Dr. Zhao Shui Lu, Robert Kaneko, and everyone at OCOM, the faculty and staff, for a truly outstanding experience as a doctoral student. And to all of my fellow graduates, congratulations, you did it. We're here. In chapter 25 of the Wangdi Neijing, the emperor says, "When I think about the pain of the people, this disturbs my heart. In my confusion, contrary to my intentions, I cause their pain to increase in severity. I am unable to substitute their diseases with health. When the people hear this, they consider me cruel and destructive. What is to be done?" Wouldn't it be something if today's leaders were this reflective? I personally know how Huang Di felt. I see the pain of the people, and this disturbs my heart. You all may know this feeling. When I look around, when I read the paper or listen to the news, when I scroll through my social media feeds, and most especially when I talk to my patients, I see it, I hear it, I feel it in my bones and in my heart. The people are in pain. Often in my clinic, the most obvious pain is physical, but human pain is complex and multifaceted. You've seen patients, you've done thorough and complete intakes and interviews. Underneath the back pain, the neck ache, the migraine, careful questioning often reveals anxiety, depression, or deep-seated worry. Our patients are stressed. They're worried about their jobs, about money, about their kids, about their parents, about their futures. Our patients are sad, and our patients are angry. Our patients are lonely. I work in a small rural community where the median age is about 52 years old. I have a lot of elderly patients, and for them, our visits are often as much about chatting and storytelling as they are about treatment. They have arthritis and degenerative disc disease and neuropathy, but they are also at that stage of life where they are losing friends and siblings and spouses. Death and grief are ever present for them. Like Huang Di, I often feel unable to substitute their diseases with health. What is to be done? So I turn to Chibo. In response to the emperor's question, the master physician answers, "Now, man receives his life from the earth. His fate depends on heaven. When heaven and earth combine their chi, that is called man." And then later, when one takes heaven as law and the earth as rule, and when one's activities follow what is corresponding to them, then harmony with heaven and earth will be like an echo, and following heaven and earth will be like a shadow. The way does not include any demons or spirits. It's not an explicit solution to the problem of human suffering, but it is a reminder of the resilience of the human spirit. As Chibo points out, we humans have a unique role in the universe. We stand as a bridge between heaven and earth, yin seeping up from below and yang descending from above, opposite energies blending and supporting each other to create form and consciousness. As the blending of yin and yang is disturbed or imbalanced, whether by the 7 emotions, the invasion of an evil, pernicious influence, poor diet, excessive living, or physical trauma, we enter a state of dis-ease, a state of suffering. As the pivot between heaven and earth, humans are beings of connection. We are designed to interact with each other and with our external environment, to live as an integral part of the natural world, not in dominance over it. And yet, more and more, we are disconnected and separate. Screens and apps replace face-to-face interactions. The demands of work take more and more time away from family and friends. Aging and challenges with mobility and transportation isolate us. The natural world is something we see on commercials and magazine covers, not a place where we spend time. In his 2018 article, The Poison We Pick, which was published in New York Magazine, Andrew Sullivan writes about the opioid epidemic and Western civilization's long-standing relationship with the poppy. He points out the ways in which opiates react in the brain to mimic feelings of love and connection, and tracing the story back to the early 19th century, he says, "It is a story of pain and the search for an end to it. It is a story of how the most ancient painkiller known to humanity has emerged to numb the agonies of the world's most highly evolved liberal democracy. The scale and darkness of this phenomena is a sign of a civilization in a more acute crisis than we knew. A nation overwhelmed by a warp-speed post-industrial world, a culture yearning to give up, indifferent to life and death, enraptured by withdrawal and nothingness. America, having pioneered the modern way of life, is now in the midst of trying to escape it. The people are in pain." And those of us who may not be dependent on opiates turn to other addictive behaviors to soothe it. Alcohol, marijuana, TV, video games, social media, food, even exercise distracts us, if only temporarily, from the pain of disconnection. You may have heard the story from Johann Hari's book, Chasing the Scream, in which researchers studying addiction tweaked the original experiment that placed a lone rat in a cage with a bottle of plain water and a bottle of water laced with morphine. Consistently in these experiments, the rat would ignore the plain water and drink the morphine until it overdosed and died. In the modified experiment, however, researchers placed rats in a rat paradise, complete with wheels and bright colors and toys, and most importantly, other rats, a community. In this version of the experiment, the rats virtually ignored the bottle containing morphine, favoring instead living, playing, and having sex with other rats. Connection, community, and interaction, this is what made the difference between sad, addicted rats and happy, healthy rats. In the natural world, most mammals live communally. And as mammals, humans have evolved to thrive in community and connection, and our survival depends on our ability to socialize and interact. We have evolved with a complex neural network that allows us to recognize signs of safety and nurturing through facial expressions and vocal tone. The fibers of the vagus nerve that connect to our heart and lungs, regulating heart rate and respiration in response to threat or safety, pass right by the muscles of our inner ear and through the muscles of our face. Notice how human and animal mothers interact with their young. Their facial expressions soften, they make soothing, melodic sounds, all to create a sense of nurturing, safety, and belonging. Think of how a healthy Shen manifests in the face and body, how a warm smile on one face invites a smile in response. Notice how you might respond when someone meets you with an angry facial expression or aggressive physical posture or a loud, deep voice. The emperor and his closest advisor, the heart and the lungs, sense danger and send the message of threat to the rest of the kingdom. In a state of constant threat, whether from a trauma history or chronic pain, chronic illness, chronic stress, the kingdom remains on alert. The vagal system, largely responsible for the sympathetic nervous system response, gets stuck in fight, flight, or freeze mode. And our ability to accurately interpret signs of safety or threat in the people we meet becomes impaired. We feel disconnected, even frightened, and alone. All these ideas come from the work of polyvagal theory, which is the work of Dr. Stephen Porges. You've probably noticed associated behaviors in your clinic experience. Some patients have difficulty making eye contact. They can't sit still. They are irritable or jumpy. They are often disconnected from their bodies and have difficulty describing their symptoms. Liver qi constraint, heart blood deficiency, disharmony between the heart and kidneys, phlegm, misting the mind, qi stagnation, blood stasis. We recognize and treat these patterns. We understand how to restore the harmony of yin and yang, that beautiful blending of earthly and heavenly energy unique to the human experience. But I want to remind you that we can do more. You and I, as practitioners, are as integral to therapeutic effect as the needles, the moxa, the cups, the herbs. There are several ways to rebalance the polyvagal system once it is disrupted. Slow, deep breathing, singing or chanting, and safe social interaction with another mammal, preferably a human. Social engagement is medicine. It's healing. We can, when we're in the middle of a busy clinic day, filling out forms and typing on our computers, unintentionally neglect this social part of our patient interactions. But notice what happens, especially with reticent patients, if you slow down, take your time, and pay attention to the social engagement signals you are sending. Are you making eye contact? Are you smiling? Do your facial expressions and mannerisms show that you are really listening? Just think of what most people encounter when they seek medical treatment. Rushed doctors and nurses who have 15 minutes to assess, diagnose, and treat, and with no time to foster connection or a sense of safety. We have the luxury of time. Time to show our patients that they are safe and seen and heard before they even lie down on the table. Feeling genuine connection is important. It can be life-changing. A sense of community is also important. You all know this. For the last several years, you have been part of a really big community, as you have exhausted your brains and changed the way you see health and maybe even the world. As your life has had ups and downs and possibly total upheavals, you've been surrounded by a community of students laboring beside you on the journey. You're about to leave that larger community behind. In many ways, it feels like a relief. No more exams, at least once boards are done. No more comprehensive finals, no more papers, no more homework, no more supervision, no more monthly travel. It's a really exciting and inspired time. But after a few months, you may begin to feel the disconnect. I remember many years ago when I first opened my practice, suddenly feeling really isolated. Of course, I practiced in the middle of nowhere, and the nearest acupuncturist at that time was 80 miles away. But I found a sense of community with other medical providers in my area. It was hard, but my efforts resulted in a good job practicing Chinese medicine in a primary care medical clinic. This gives me the ability to work collaboratively and to treat a whole spectrum of patients whom I might not otherwise see. So don't forget, community is where you build it. The people are in pain, and the tools, training, and personal growth that each of you have garnered during this time has provided you with the unique opportunity to assist people in restoring balance and discovering their own resilience. When you sit down with someone, take a moment to exemplify that perfect pivot between heaven and earth. Set yourself and any plans aside and meet them where they are, with compassion and in the spirit of generosity and genuine connection. In the words of Lao Tzu, cultivate virtue in your own person, and it becomes a genuine part of you. Cultivate it in the family, and it will abide. Cultivate it in the community, and it will live and grow. Cultivate it in the state, and it will flourish abundantly. Cultivate it in the world, and it will become universal. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. It's so important to remember that patients come to us because they're suffering in one way or another. And then it's important to remember that we begin the healing process by our interaction with them. Sage Ricci will speak for the master's class. Sage is a student both of medicine and of many other aspects of life. He's a teacher, specifically having taught at-risk teens at the School of Urban and Wilderness Survival in Idaho. He is a writer, teaching writing workshops, both locally and internationally. He is an artist, drawing webcomics, designing permaculture family farms and eco-villages. painting professional murals and theatrical sets, and doing tattoo art out of his own tattoo salon here in Portland. Sage and I share something in common. We're both Italian. For Sage, that means that he loves to cook and bake for dinner parties and holidays, but especially for those he loves. Giving to others is a key part of being a cook and a healer. Sage excels in giving. Please welcome Sage.
Hi. Well, well, well. What have we here? Dear friends and family, faculty, staff, board, Dr. Green. It is my extreme honor and pleasure to be here today in front of you and say some parting words on behalf of the master's class, the outgoing master's class of 2019 of OCOM. And I thought a long time about what I wanted to say in this speech. It was hard. Normally, I have no problem talking, as you know. I thought a lot about these times we live in. I thought about what our oath of dedication means, what the one we originally came up with when we started and the one we're going to take again today. And I thought about the hours and the days and the weeks and the years of study behind us. And I thought about each of the things we had to know, to test and to pass, to get to this stage today. I thought about the friendships formed in the trenches of living anatomy and A&P and theory and herbs, the rote of memorizing, the rote of feeling overwhelmed, of wanting to give up, of getting knocked down and getting up again, of coming back to study again and again, and the rote of hearing every one of our professors telling us, we can't see the forest for the trees yet, but trust us. At some point, you will see a big forest and you will not just be bumbling around knocking your head into trees. And they were right. Somehow, at some point, and it's hard to pinpoint exactly when, a forest emerged, something vast and mysterious, a long tradition of medicine, of thinking about medicine, of practicing the techniques of medicine, our chosen profession. This majestic forest, this tradition, it was still a mystery, but at some point, it was one we realized we had a place in. We had somehow found our way into the mystery. We had followed the path into the woods laid down by those who came before us. And that's what I really started thinking about and what I really want to talk about today. I want to tell you a story. One of the stories of one of the ways in which I found myself pursuing this medicine here at OCOM. There were many, many things that led me here, some practical, some just flashes of insight. Now it feels like I've always been here, but... Early in 2012, I was a patient at an acupuncture and Tweenock clinic. I had found a promising practitioner who I had heard might be able to help me with an old injury. I was in pain, a lot of pain for many years, and I was kind of desperate. And it was my third or so session, and I laid down on the table. My acupuncturist's name was Sean, and Sean began to work on me and proceeded to the only word I can think of was that he started to unfold me. And he did some body work, some needles, some more body work, and my eyes were closed, and at some point, Sean got in back of me and put his hands under my head, under the occiput, and he was cradling my head, and that's where my injury was in my neck. I could feel something leave me, something traumatic, something awful. I just felt it leave me, and I just surrendered into his hands. I lost all resistance. And then something really cool happened. I had this image, and it just appeared to me in my head. It wasn't a vision, it was just this picture. And it was Sean's hands holding my head, And touching his elbows was another set of hands. And then touching those hands was another set of hands. And hands and hands and hands going all the way back in infinity. And it was really beautiful to see it, to feel it in my body. And Sean and I were just getting to know each other, and so I thought of keeping it to myself. But he noticed the release in my neck, and he said something like, "Good work, yeah, do it." And so I told him about the hands. And he didn't really respond to it. And my eyes were still closed, so I didn't see what was going on. And he just kept breathing and holding my head, and I thought, don't talk, Sage, like, just stop. This is probably not the time to be talking. So I got into my breathing in my neck again. But after only another minute or so, Sean very gently set my head back down, and he stepped away from me. I thought he was moving away, but he wasn't actually moving away. He was moving aside. And Sean said, "Sage, open your eyes." And my head was tilted back, so I was looking upside down. But in back of me, Sean had moved, and I could see the wall behind him. And it was a very large picture frame filled with dozens and dozens of tiny squares. And some were photographs and some were drawings, but they were all portraits. And Sean said, "Sage, those are all my teachers. This is my lineage. That's what you saw. You saw the hands of my teachers guiding my hands." And it was such a good thing, and it felt so right. Those hands, generations of healers stretching back to infinity. And I wanted that. I'd already had some of that in my life, but this was so clear and so present. And it was another surrender in that moment to this moment. This moment led by generations of healers, unbroken chains of teachers and thinkers and doctors who have tried and tested and practiced this medicine, who have written and argued about it for millennia to keep this body of knowledge and practice alive in this world. We, all of us, not just the students here, all of us in this room are at this moment the repository of an entire chain of human history. Our genetics, ancestors, loves, and traumas are alive in us and expressing themselves right now in this room. We are infinitely small and momentary in the context of that history. We stand on the backs of giants. We are an infinite web of connection and change. My fellow students, think about what you have studied, what you have learned, what has stuck with you and sang to your heart and made this medicine come alive with understanding inside of your organs, inside of your hands, inside of your spirits. Each of those things has been handed down, hand by hand. Each of those lessons distilled and learned and practiced and distilled again. Our lineage of teachers on this stage right now with us, their teachers going back, our ancestors, those who have come before us on a grand and honorable path about caring for others. And let's be clear, we are needed. We've heard it from everyone so far. We graduate into a world of unprecedented peril and chaos, and perhaps opportunity. These times we live in are filled with the Pandora's box of problems that could possibly beset us. We live in a country and a world divided by absolutes. These times need us and our skills. They need the wisdom that lives inside of our medicine, the discerning physician's eyes that looks at the patterns of change, that sees possible outcomes in all the warp and weave of cycles of time, and has the skill to steer the course towards more beneficial outcomes. Because we are not just the repository of our ancestors' teachings. We are the next step in the medicine. We are the next link in the chain. We are the ancestors of the future. And those who come after us need us now to do our work, to think critically, to practice carefully and confidently, to further our medicine and to reach out our hands. The writer Annie Dillard, in an essay for the New York Times many years ago, wrote, "Rembrandt, Shakespeare, Gauguin possessed powerful hearts, not powerful wills. They loved the range of the materials they used. Their work's possibility excited them. The field's complexity filled their imaginations. The caring suggested the tasks. The tasks suggest the schedules. They learned their fields and then loved them and worked respectfully out of their love and knowledge and produced bodies of work that endured. Every trade has its apprenticeship, and today we are apprentices no longer. Today we cast aside that wretched hat, in Annie Dillard's words. Take our tools, push into the world, and practice this medicine now as journeymen. But we must take our giant caring hearts too, like Rembrandt and Shakespeare, like Zhang Dongjing and Sun Simiao, like Dr. Jin and Dr. Coletto. Respectfully, carefully, with compassion for our fellow humans, and knowledge to treat properly, and to add our own journey to this great river of ancestors that have come before us. It is our time now. Their hands are upon ours. We are the ancestors of the future, and our legacy begins now. To our family and friends, you have our thanks and our love and our undying gratitude for supporting us over these past years and being here today to celebrate with us. OCOM, you have our deep gratitude for this education and for the entry into this river, this inception, and we will feel your hands guiding forward. And my friends, my fellow graduates, you have my personal respect and good wishes. I'm so honored and proud to be up here speaking for you. And personally, I'm so touched by how you've made space for me. Thank you. And to paraphrase Annie Dillard one more time, may you delight in your own astonishment. May you not engage with trivialities. Let your caring suggest your tasks. Let those tasks of caring suggest your schedules. You have finished your work. Now get to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Sage. You know, every single person in this room stands on the backs of giants, of family, of friends, of teachers, and every single person in this room has shoulders that will hoist others up to stand and lead and grow. So what I'd like to do next is sort of set the scene for the time that we've all been waiting for, when the women and men who are seated here receive their degrees. To confer the degrees, I would invite Dr. Green back to the podium. Once the degrees are conferred, I would like several people to step forward. Dr. Martin Kidwell, Dean of Master Studies, will present the doctoral graduates. Dr. Beth Birch, Dean of Doctoral Studies, and Dr. Zhao Shui Lu, Associate Dean of Doctoral Studies and Chair of Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine for the doctoral program, will distribute diplomas to the doctoral graduates. Following the doctoral graduates, Dr. Martin Kidwell will present the master's graduates. Dr. Beth Howlett, Vice President of Communications and Academic Services, and Dr. Greg Livingston, faculty member, will distribute diplomas to the master's graduates. And when the graduates have each received their degrees, Dr. Martin Kidwell will lead them in the taking of the acupuncture oath of practice. Dr. Green?
Thank you, Dr. Coletto. I most especially want to thank our commencement speaker and our student representative speakers. I was truly touched, and the coming of full circle in those sharings. Know that you not only touched your peers, but I think many on this stage as well. So, the conferment statement. By the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the Oregon College of Oriental Medicine, I now invite the presentation of the candidates for degrees. Graduates, please stand. I confer upon you, the named candidates, the degree of Masters of Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine, or Doctor of Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine. You may move your tassel to the left side. And now for the presentation of the graduates.
Jennifer Jasniak Hartman. Connie Jan. Ellie Legary. Coaching Lu. Patrick Aaron Lynch. Fonse Leila Simon. Paul Storm. Bonnie Sweetland. Tina Bick San. And Amelia Zam. Okay, it's time for our masters to get ready. Zev Alpert. Austin Anderson. Adam Anson. Alex Bebain. Hannah-Lisa Becker. Katie Bowens. Michelle Bush. Raina Chang. Ash Cooper. Carlos Cruz. Emma Lane Ellsworth. Karen Finlayson. Leah Friend. Tammy Lee Garrison. Rebecca Greenwell. Hannah Grice. Hayden Hutchins. Hardy Kelly. Brian Lee. Tameka Lim Velasco. Su Yao Lin. Momo Ma. Megan McClagan. Maggie Maitan. Christopher McClory. Dean McNash. Melody Mitchell. Paul New. Brad Niemeyer. Mallory Olney. Emery Olson. Beth Randalls. Michael Sage Ricci. Joy Rosa Schreiber. Elizabeth Scott. Renee Mendonça Shankar. Beth Shirilla. Haley Simon. Ari Sky Babbitt. Sarah Snyder. Alicia Steierman Bayer. Natalie Theriault. Mark Tsai. Lisa Marie White. And last but not least, James Miles Yardley. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you OCOM's Masters in DAOM graduating class of 2019. I thought I was done. Okay, so will the graduates please stand and join me in repeating the oath of practice. Alumni, if you're present, you are welcome to also join in. So I'm going to say a part, and you repeat after me. I will devote my knowledge, skills, and creativity to understanding the nature of suffering and the means to relieve it, and to the nature of health and the means to maintain it.
I will devote my knowledge, skills, and creativity to understand the nature of suffering and the means to relieve it, and the nature of health and the means to maintain it.
I will treat without bias or prejudice all those who come to me for care.
I will treat
I will treat them with dignity and in confidence. I will listen with compassion to their concerns and fears. I will help them understand and participate in the process of their own health and well-being. I will continue to build on the knowledge and skills that I have so that I am better able to help those in my care. I will admit the limitations of my knowledge and skill and seek assistance when necessary. I will cultivate myself in harmony with the processes of nature in service to all beings. I solemnly swear to uphold these principles and precepts to the best of my ability. You may now applaud the graduates.
So, congratulations, doctors, acupuncturists. Hold on to your dreams, but not so tightly that they become like stone. The only constant in life is change, so your dreams will change. They will morph and grow as you stay open and honest with yourselves. Your path is of service. You will grow through your service to others. They will grow through their contact with you. Smile. Let your inner light shine to illuminate your path and everyone around you. I wish you all the very best. I'd like to leave you with a quote from Mother Teresa. Let no one ever come to you without leaving better and happier. Be the living expression of kindness. Kindness in your face. Kindness in your eyes. Kindness in your smile. Kindness in your warm greeting. Spread love wherever you go. So thank you all for coming today, sharing these special moments. Please stay, greet the graduates, join us for a reception and food in the lobby on both the first and second levels. You are all also invited to the after party at Opal 28, located at 510 Northeast 28th Avenue. Now, as we leave today, we'll recess in the following manner. Those of us on the stage, followed by faculty members, and then graduates. As each group leaves, please file out of the auditorium and into the lobby so we don't cause a huge backup. Audience members, please remain in your places until the last graduates are filing out. Thank you all very much, and congratulations.